Very kind of you both, thank you. Good evening. First tonight, a senseless move by the state government to shut down an iconic drug treatment program. For the last 12 years, the success stories that have come out of Drugbeat SA have been immeasurable, helping so many South Aussies get back on their feet after nasty addictions. The life-changing impact they've made even earned them a government award for excellence. So why is the program about to be axed? Well, here's Paul Macon with the story, including a bombshell dropped in Parliament today that may provide some answers.
We have a 95% success rate.
This is for the people who have a drug addiction within our community.
That means people getting back to school, back to work, families being put back together.
What's that old saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And definitely don't axe it.
This is a devastating decision by the government and someone's got to be accountable for it.
I said, look, hand on heart, Jay, I promise you that if Drugbeat's funding is taken away, your government's not a threat, I promise.
The message is loud and clear.
My reaction to John Hill and also the whole Labor government, that it's a ridiculous decision.
And that decision is to close Shay Louise House and the Drugbeat program at Elizabeth Grove.
I want them to consider the lives now that they are putting at risk by withdrawing the money from this organisation and how they've done it.
The house is named after MP Anne Bressington's daughter who died of a heroin overdose 14 years ago.
There's only 3 outcomes that you can get once you're an addict. You either lose your mind, you lose your life, or you lose your freedom.
This place is one of very few that offers a fourth option, to get clean and go on to lead a productive life.
It saved my life by coming out here and saved our family.
We got support and we got help. And have a look at Alana and Willow. There's the proof, there's the living proof the program works.
State governments have been funding Shay Louise House for 12 years. Peanuts from a multi-million-dollar health budget.
Around $420,000.
But when the good people here reached out for this year's funding, the answer was no.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to close by June 30th, not really knowing the correct decision why the Drugbeat program has been defunded.
We've been given no real reasons, no valid reasons.
However, Anne Bressington reckons she knows and claims it's very political.
Because this is what this government does. It gets its own way, or it crashes and burns anyone in its way.
We're actually saving the government money by the outcomes that we achieve.
Just look at the numbers. Drug crime costs the community, conservatively, $90,000 per offender per year. Shay Louise House claims it rehabilitates around 120 clients each year. Over 12 years, that saved us around $130 million. Not a bad deal for $4 million.
The health officials and bureaucracy will protect the health system rather than look at the bigger picture.
Former Premier and Minister for Human Services, Dean Brown, is appalled by what he calls a nonsensical decision.
I understand that there are people who are currently under treatment there who will get only partway through their treatment before the funding runs out. What happens to those people?
It has given my family a mother for the first time.
I was abused as a child, raped as a teenager, and Shay Louise House, Drugbeat, saved my life.
I've seen that with other government programs where people get partway through and then they start to reoffend, they go back onto drugs, and that's a very unsatisfactory outcome.
I feel like I'm helpless again.
You're the bloke that went out there and opened that place. You were firmly behind it. And now you look at the situation. How do you respond to it?
Well, it just disappoints me so much because all the hard work has been done. The history is there. It's worked very effectively over a 12-year period and it needs to continue. And it's for the benefit of this state that is the case.
I'm asking all of you to get on the phone, to write letters, to send emails, to word of mouth, to get people to write to this government and tell them that you've lost faith.
Ironically, a certificate adorns the wall here at Shay Louise House from the state government, an award for excellence. It expires in 2013.
I like all of us to remember the Labor government at the next election, and this includes Jay Weatherill.
What we've done is to set up a proper procurement process, $21 million over 3 years, to go through a tender process to discover who's best able to deliver services into the future.
Health Minister John Hill reckons he's not to blame.
Would you like to look at this case, to go through what this organisation does?
Well, look...
You're the minister, the buck stops with you.
Indeed, but I've got a process in place which is governed by due process of government.
And the door remains open if Drugbeat chooses to appeal the decision.
There is a grievance process they can go through, and they can ask to have the process reviewed, and I'd encourage them to do that if they're not satisfied.
I suspect that they're looking at it through very narrow glasses as a health funding issue, and they should be looking at it as a broad community benefit, because that's what it is.
If I were to make a decision overturning an independent panel to favour a Member of Parliament's views about an organisation which he has a direct association with, you'd be asking different and stronger questions of a very critical nature to me.
Late this afternoon, Anne Bressington dropped a political bombshell in Parliament under privilege.
A political decision that I believe leads straight to the Premier's office. And just for some background on this, when I made it very clear to the Premier that I was not going to support the extended trading hours legislation, he said to me, well, then it's time to go to the trading table. When I asked him what that meant, his reply was, well, what have we got that you want? And, Mr President, it occurred to me at the time of that conversation that I probably could have asked for double the funding for Drugbeat at that point in time, and it probably would have happened because the Premier at that time was a desperate man.
Well, I'm not aware of what conversations she may have had, but I'm telling you the decision about whether or not this was funded had absolutely nothing to do with her political position on any issue. In fact, I had no say in how it was arrived at. I didn't instruct my department. I didn't make any claims about it whatsoever.
I want them to consider the lives now that they are putting at risk.
Give us back our funding, Mr Hill. Well, late this afternoon, the Premier Jay Weatherill made his own statement to the House, saying he and Ms Bressington had a conversation about shop trading hours, and it was she who brought up the issue of Drugbeat funding. He told Parliament he'd indicated to her it was a decision for the independent panel, not him. Paul Magan with that report.